Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to another edition of #AskRobCo. Hope you're all well. Thank you for joining again, for those of you that keep returning every Friday at 1 o'clock. For those of you that have come for the first time, thank you so much. I'm super grateful. We've got an amazing guest today. Pete Cohen is with us online. Hopefully he's there somewhere. Hello, Pete, you with us?
I am with you, but unfortunately my camera doesn't seem to want to turn on, so you're just gonna, looks like it might be just my voice only, but yeah, I'm delighted to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity very much indeed.
Great. So before we go into a bit of background and intro to Pete, and he's going to tell us about his incredible 25-year journey and how he started out in sports science and developed his wonderful business. Let's just share how it works here, okay? On the right-hand side, you've got the option, questions. You write in the questions, we will give you the answers. And so start writing away, get your questions in. Such a brilliant opportunity to get your questions to a really great business coach, life coach, motivational speaker. I've seen his stuff, and he really gets his live audiences going with great energy, great wisdom, great knowledge. And I'm really sure that there's going to be today some great content and great added value that he is going to provide to us. So without further ado, Pete, let's have an intro. Tell us about your life, your journey, and what's been happening through COVID maybe.
Yeah, well, look, first off, thank you very much. I feel like I could learn a lot from you. From what I see about you, Rob, you've spent your life building things, and it seems pretty obvious to me that you're hell-bent on giving back, and that's what this is all about, giving to people who are hungry and people who want to learn from people that have already perhaps gone down a road that they want to go down. I always believe that, you know, success always leaves clues, and I don't know about you, but I like most people, went to school, didn't have a particularly good time, went to school in North London. I really left school with a whole load of insecurities about myself, wanting to prove to the world that I was somebody, and set up on a mission to get the world to like me and get lots of recognition. So driven by insecurity, managed to achieve lots of things, from having having 3 degrees in sports science, sports psychology, having written 19 books, many of those books international best-selling books, worked with world Olympic champions in sport, from Ronnie O'Sullivan, who I spent 2 years working with, to the Arsenal football team, which was very difficult for me because I don't support them. Just this massive desire to get recognition from the world, and that kind of eventually worked out with me burning out, and having to kind of redefine a few things and looking to move through the world in a different way. I'm now I'd say I am different to how I was, because now I'm much more driven to serve. I've realized that I'm less insecure about myself. I'm more driven to grow in any way I can and to contribute and help as many people as I can while I'm on this earth, because I'm 50. I was 50 a few months ago. And
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, and I know that there's a lot of people out there that are hungry and need help from people like you and me, who are prepared to say, look, hey, to ask that age-old question, how can I help you? What can I do for you? And that's really what I'm all about right now.
I think your point on serving and growing, it sounds so fluffy and nice and sounds so simplistic, but you have to go through a hell of a lot of suffering and a hell of a lot of learning to actually get to the point where you understand that what makes you happy and what makes you fulfilled is that you want to serve and you want to grow. And I think that's so difficult for people to understand when they haven't been on that journey. For me personally, it's so obvious, it's so clear that where I am at this moment is that I just want to give and give and give and give and give, because selfishly, that's what makes me happy. That's my fulfillment. Whereas you have come on a journey where you thought that you needed the world to like you to make you happy. And then you've done this crazy about turn because you realize actually you're happy, hopefully, with who you are, or you're comfortable within your own skin. And it's not about you, it's about what you can do for everyone else. I don't know if that's a fair reflection.
Yeah, no, it's as you said, you have to go through stuff to kind of work that out. And I do feel for, I suppose, the younger generation, because, they have grown up in a world where everything is kind of given to you, if you like, or lots of things are given to you. It's like you don't have to do very much, because everything, with a few clicks of a button, everything is there for you. And that's created a world where I think a lot of people don't have a need, or a want, I should say, to actually make things happen. But human beings, we are designed to grow. We are designed to learn things. We're actually, as the Greeks called us, we are what they call teleological. We need goals. So you can have everything in the world at your fingertips, but if you're not striving and working towards something, there tends to be a lot of unfulfillment, a lot of worry, a lot of doubt, a lot of anxiety. When human beings actually contribute to other human beings, you see people do things that you would never normally see. I used to live in Ladbroke Grove. I used to live on a houseboat, and I woke up in the middle of the night to a smell, and then I heard this noise, and I looked outside, and a block of flats, the Grenville Tower, was on fire, and obviously it was horrific. But what was so awesome was you saw people behaving in a way that you would just not normally see people behave. And it's just really bizarre that it takes a diagnosis, a crisis, something to happen for people to rise up in a way that you just wouldn't normally see. And and that's what's happened with COVID for a lot of people. You see people behave in a way that isn't normal. But I do think there are incredible opportunities out there for people right now. But I think we have to look outside the box. We have to kind of let go of perhaps some of the ways that we've moved through the world in the past, and be open to just new ways of thinking, new ways of collab. I think it's the era like we're doing now. This is a collaboration. We're co-laboring. It's like, hey, Rob, how can I help you? How can you help me? How can I serve you? And that is what I think is coming to the world. I think that's coming to the world like never before. And I've watched actually a couple of what you've done here before recently, and I can see you've got a lot of hungry people who are also coming from the same place. Oh, can I help you? What do you need? Can we work together on this? So I think we're actually in very exciting times, but also, I suppose, quite uncertain times as well.
Absolutely. Let's just go into a bit more detail, Pete, in the turning point from the insecurity of needing to be liked, because let's just be fair, most people want to be liked. Most people are living their lives to have a perception on the people around them of what they think they should be doing to be liked or to be looked upon in a good way. So let's just say that's the path you went on. Then you hit this moment in your life, and maybe we can go into a bit more detail there, where actually you crash, but also understand that you're actually comfortable with yourself, and your purpose in life isn't to be liked, because at the end of the day, if someone likes you, great. If they don't like you, great. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, no one's liked by everyone, but you have a talent, which you absolutely do, and you can motivate and educate and inspire people, which you do. So let's talk about the tipping point where you go from being the insecure person that's fighting life to be liked to the person that's giving back and serving. Talk us through that stage, because
no, it'd be my pleasure to, because there's a story. Everyone's got a story, right? And this is one of the things I talk about a lot. We're all in the story making business. That's why I always ask, and the people that are listening right now, I'd say, hey, look, what's your favorite film? What is it? Is it Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings? Is it Is it The Matrix? Is it Mary Poppins? We all love these films because there's this similar thing, similar pattern. You know, someone is called to an adventure, they don't want to go, they get a coach, they get a mentor, they cross somewhere they never crossed before, they face adversity, it almost destroys them, they go into some sort of training, they come back after that stronger than ever. And we love those films because they talk to us. And whether we like it or not, and I encourage people to like it, you are the writer, the director, the producer, you're the actor. You can actually choose your own supporting cast in creating the movie of your life. The fact is, most of us just go for the movies that we were in before, rather than thinking, hey, that wasn't working, I want to do something different. I want to step into the unknown. And for me, my life changed massively when 10 years ago, or nearly 10 years ago, my wife was diagnosed with a very aggressive brain tumor, and she was given 18 months to live. And Rob, I don't know your background, but I would imagine your parents brought you up well. My parents brought me up to believe a few things. My dad always said, son, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So I know a lot of people because whenever I meet anybody, I'm so curious to understand who someone is and why they do what they do. And my mum brought me up to believe there's an answer to everything. As a child who suffered with dyslexia, my mum just really did whatever she could do to help me get ahead. And when my wife was diagnosed with a brain tumor, it really forced me to look outside the box. It really, and then I had a coach. I'm a massive fan of coaching. You know, that's what I do, and I provide coaching to people in so many various forms. I had a coach who coached me for 16 years of my life. He was from the Philippines. He was living in Dallas, Texas. He was older than me, wiser than me. I called him up and I asked him what I should do. And his advice basically changed my wife's life. He said, find people that are still alive and find out why. Find out why they are still here. That was the first thing he said. And the next thing he said is, what is she going to do when she gets better? And I just said, what do you mean? I've told you she's only been given 18 months to live. And I'll never, ever forget what he said. He said, so what? People defy the odds all the time. He said, you defied the odds in being born. You know, and he said, once upon a time, there was a swimming race. You were in the swimming race and you were the one that won. Why? Maybe because you wanted to live more than the others. I'm talking about sperm here. You know, you were the one that, you know, that desire is in all human beings. But to cut a long story short, I looked outside the box. I found a treatment in America. It costs $200,000 for this treatment. My wife had surgery. She had radiotherapy. The tumor came back. But we went to America and this treatment started working. We weren't married at the time. My wife made a miraculous recovery. But the reason I tell you this story is that after 3 years, we were living in North London. I said to my wife one day, I said, you know, my coach, Raphael, actually said, what are you going to do when you get better? And when I said that to my wife, she started crying. And the reason she started crying, this probably won't surprise anybody. She started crying because she didn't have a vision of her future. And if you don't have a vision of your future, well, what do you think is going to happen? You know,
yeah.
And that's what a lot of people don't have. I'm sorry to say, very few. Napoleon Hill, in his book Think and Grow Rich, you know, who spent 25 years talking to 500 people, he said that he reckoned that only 2% of people could tell you where they were going or what they were doing. Yet everyone has that capability, and that's why, Rob, you're probably like me, that you're very driven by what is possible, what we can do. It's not that we're not still driven by some levels of insecurity or doubt or fear, but we're more into the frame of mind of, hey, this is what we can do, this is what we will do, and we want to help other people to do the same. So to cut a very long story even shorter, now I'm more driven about what is possible. I was more driven away from moving away from something out of an insecure need to prove to everyone. Now I'm driven by, this is what I am going to do. You can't stop me. Who's going to come with?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I absolutely resonate with what you're saying. Everything that I live for today is all about legacy and reverse engineering the 50-year play back to today. And that's my entire outlook on life, whether it's family, charity, community, work, all based around serving and giving back, like you just said. Everything has a long-term play, and that's the only reason that I'm living, and it's probably the core reason for this platform. Before this call, I was on another call and someone asked me that exact question, and why are you doing this? And it's very simple, because in 3, 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 years, I would love the younger people, or the younger professionals, or the students, or the graduates, or the next generation, or the current generation, or the slightly older generation, have the opportunity to do the best that they can do within their capabilities and find happiness and joy in whatever it is in their life. And if I can do the smallest of things to contribute to that over the next 50 years, God willing, then happy days, because that's what I would like to leave behind. And that's the impact that I'd like to have on the world. So
I want to switch this back to you, because I'm sorry, I've got to be selfish here, because I want to know, where did you get that from? Where did that idea come from? Who taught you that? Where did you learn to move through the world in the way that you do right now?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think it's definitely a culmination of life experience, personal experience, professional experience, a little bit of spirituality along the way. I think that when I learned and started seeing that by helping others, it made me happy. So helping others is serving and giving. When I realized that the more I helped other people and the more I gave, the happier I was as a human being, it just becomes an addiction. And that is my drug, and that is what motivates me and makes me function in life. And I found that out quite a few years ago. And so all I need to do on a daily basis is continuously help and give, help and give, help and give. And if it's reasonably channeled in certain areas and certain directions, actually there can be a lot of positive repercussions from that, because there's a bit of a strategy behind it, because you know to a degree who you're influencing, maybe which age group, which demographic, or which business, or which charity, or which community, and so on. So actually, if you can build a strategy behind the 50-year of serving and giving, then maybe the results will be even bigger and more impactful. But for me, it was very simple. I was reasonably selfish as a person, and that's okay. But I realized that my happiness and fulfillment was just by helping others and giving. And so that's my life. Dedicate my life, family, work, community, charity, friends, everything in giving, and that's me being selfishly selfless, and that's such an interesting phrase and something to think about that people get confused by. I'm actually being selfish by helping other people because it makes me happy. So I'm being selfishly selfless, and I think that's the best way to describe me of what I represent.
And do you still immerse yourself in learning and growing and developing yourself?
Every day.
And why do you think that's important?
I just think that if I want to have such an amazing impact on people in the world, then I have to grow as an athlete, as a human being, as a person. And I have to go deeper and deeper and deeper in self-awareness, self-reflection, become the most sensitive of all sensitive people to understand how I'm affecting people's lives, and to be able to produce to the absolute highest levels that I can as a human being. So the development part is off the scale and never ending. So that's quite important in our journey and our life. We aren't static, or shouldn't be static, because we're always growing, we're always developing.
Yeah, no, I don't know how deep you want to go here, but I'm happy to go a bit deeper on this subject if you like. Because
go for it.
Well, why not? I mean, look, let's face it, right? You and I are both Cohens. Well, actually, I'm not even a Cohen. My surname is Curran. When my great-grandfather came to this country in 1890 from Lithuania, which I would imagine you've also got Eastern European blood in you as well, right?
Yeah, Lithuania as well.
Now, there you go, you see. So, I mean, what does that really mean? Well, it doesn't really necessarily mean anything, right? But when you look at religion and you look at religion, I think is very misunderstood. So I grew up, actually went to a Catholic school in Hampstead, but I grew up as a Jew, and I went to a synagogue, and I didn't really understand. I didn't really relate at all to what was going on because it didn't relate to my life at that time. But as I've grown up, I've started to realize, well, being Jewish is actually pretty interesting because if you look at our ancestry, we've had a pretty of an interesting journey along the way, you know. And in the Bible, in the Old Testament, it says that, you know, God said, and I'm not saying here whether I believe in God or not. I'm not going down that road. My grandma always said, don't talk about sex, money, religion, or politics. I'm kind of crossing a line a little bit, but it said that Jews were put on this earth to spread humanity, right? Now, I think we were all put on this earth to spread humanity. If you look back through, if you look at all religions and all philosophy, there's a few things they all have in common, and it's all about virtues, that a great life is a virtuous life. So I didn't know what virtues were, but virtues, and very common virtues that exist within pretty much all religions, from Islam to Buddhism to Christianity to Catholicism, Judaism, is about being courageous, you know, going and doing things from your heart. That's a core virtue. Temperance, which is about your ability to control what you do, right? Not giving into temptation. Justice, you know, standing up for the rights of other people. And wisdom. Wisdom is something that we tend to get from experience. And it seems like where you and I are quite alike is we're quite virtuous people, where we are pretty much obsessed with being courageous, doing things which maybe are a bit difficult or challenging, but doing them because we know that we have an opportunity to grow, to contribute, and to make a difference to other people's lives. And I think deep down everybody wants that. They don't know that they want that. What we're driven to do is to get certain needs met. So we have the need for certainty, and we have the need for almost uncertainty. You don't want to know everything that's going to happen. We have the need for significance. We want to feel like we're important. We have the need for connection. But most of us are getting those four needs met in a way that isn't actually that nourishing. And if you don't get those needs met in a way that is positive, it's very hard to grow and to contribute in a way that, you know, is possible. You know, the happiest lives, as I think you know and I know, is when you're giving and serving others. You know, and that's what I will continue to do until my last breath.
Absolutely. Let's get through some questions. A lot of people have been waiting patiently. Let's see what I've got here.
I just wish I could make my camera work, but unfortunately.
Okay, I've got a question here. Why do I feel like the world is against me, Pete? Anything on that?
Okay, so why does someone feel that way? Well, I suppose ultimately the quality of our life really comes down to how we talk to ourselves, right? So we're all talking to ourselves, every single one of us. And the reason you feel that way is because you're talking to yourself in a way that is creating an emotion. And one of the things I'm so interested and passionate about doing is helping people like you to learn how to think greater than you feel. So if you think of it like this, the language of your mind is words, is thoughts. The language of your body is feelings. If you think of your body as your unconscious mind, so if you have a thought like, I can't do this, the whole world is against me, you then produce a feeling in your body that then tells your brain that you are correct for having that thought. We have to learn to change the way that we think. So, you know, it's a habit that you have, and maybe you've got evidence to prove the fact that the world is against you. But let me tell you this, I was talking to someone this morning, and I don't know whether you know this, Rob, but this is fascinating to me. How many people that are listening to this would say of themselves that they are a genius? You know, most people would say, no, I'm not a genius. But it's like, okay, well, what is a genius? What do you actually think that word means? Because if you really knew what it meant, you'd have a totally different perception of it. Because the word genius actually means the guiding voice inside your head. You know, the Greeks called it the daimon, the Romans called it the genius, the guiding voice that has got you to listen to this for however long we've been talking, the voice that got you out of bed, the voice that makes you exercise, the voice that, and we've all got this battle inside us, the part of us that wants to stay where we are and the part of us that wants us to grow. What we all need to learn how to do, or we get to do, is to turn down the voice that tells us what not to do and turn up the voice so it's very loud that says, no, let's go. I'm not listening to this. This is what I'm going to do. And it does take time. You know, it does take, it's like training. We have to train ourselves to think and act differently. Otherwise, we'll think and act the way that we've always thought and wonder why we don't get a different outcome. So yeah, that's my answer to that. I've done quite a few podcasts
on the back of that, Pete.
Yes.
On the back of that piece, just got another question, so it leads perfectly on. Sometimes I struggle with imposter syndrome and then in turn attach negativity. How can I change and move forward or away from this state? So I feel it's a perfect continuation of the last point.
Yeah, I did a podcast on the imposter syndrome because I didn't know actually what that was. So I thought, well, I better go and find out because lots of people are talking about it.
What is it for the ones that don't know?
I think it's when you feel, that's a great question. What is it? That to me is exactly what I wanted to find out. What is that? So from what I found out from reading and listening to some people talking about it, it's when you feel that you're not being your authentic self, right? And if you think about this, so I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I was insecure and I wanted to fit in. So we have this incredible drive to fit in so we get accepted. So I don't know what people who are listening or watching this, what they did in order to get accepted. But what I did is I smoked. You know, that was the group I wanted to be in and they smoked. So I learned how to smoke, even though I hated it. You know, and it was the same with certain other things that we did. Some of those things we shouldn't have done, but it was all about fitting in. And the more you try and fit into a group, the more you can lose yourself. And that's when a lot of people start to feel like an imposter. This isn't me and I'm trying to be something that I'm not. So learning to kind of step away and to be yourself, that's where coaching and mentoring, and I would imagine, Rob, that that's part of what this is about, is giving people a safe space to look at the world with a fresh pair of eyes and to maybe make some different choices about who they choose to be. We are who we have practiced being. So an imposter syndrome, I would say, is just that you're trying to be something and deep down you know it, you're not comfortable because you're not really being yourself.
I mean, ultimately, you've just got to be authentic and be who you are and stop living life for other people or what you believe other people are expecting from you. Authenticity is just so powerful. And I say this time and time again, and we do a lot on interviews and HR and jobs and careers and so on. And when I'm sitting in front of someone, I don't want to be in front of the person that they're trying to be or claiming to be. I just want to be in front of the real person. And if I like that real person because they're honest, genuine, sincere, then great. Because the fake person then turning up and then me finding out that there's a different person doesn't help anyone. It doesn't get any of us anywhere in any situation, whether it's a job or in a relationship. When you're trying to impress someone, being someone that you're not because you're trying to impress them, you've just got to be yourself. If someone likes it, great. And if they don't like it, great. It's really okay. Hang around the people that like you for being who you are and what you represent. And if someone doesn't like that, just don't be with them. I just think people have just got to really get comfortable with who they are, not worry so much about what other people's opinions are and what they think, because ultimately it doesn't really matter. you just got to be happy with yourself. And that's why ultimately you've gone on the journey that you've gone on now, Pete, because you don't care what other people think, because you're not living your life to be liked. You're living your life to help and serve and grow. Next question. I've got something from Diva, which is our great partner in India. Diva's message, possibly a message for the many. Those who mind don't matter. Those who matter don't mind. Thoughts on being liked, why being oneself. Thanks for that, Diva. Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Another question: is now the best time to really go for something? Why do humans overthink? Is it because it's a burden? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, we have the capacity to think. I mean, it's so fascinating, isn't it? Because the only thing that separates us from everything else, as far as we know, is choice. So we have the dignity of choice. A tree doesn't choose to grow halfway and think, oh, I can't be bothered with this. I'm not going to grow anymore. You know, cats or animals, they rely more on instinct. We can work on instinct, but that's it. Ultimately, it's our choice. And we can either, this is how I look at it, we can either choose to move forwards into growth, or we can move back into safety. Or if you want to even be a bit more harsh about it, we can either choose to live or we can choose to die. And when we're not growing and we're not contributing, there is a part of us that is dying. And I've got to a point where I know that some people maybe need help, you know, to get to the point where they feel that they could grow. Maybe there's something in their past that they need to resolve. But the person that you just said who was in India, you know, Gandhi, who did something that was incredible, right? This small little guy who managed to stop nations killing each other. And he said many great things, but one of the greatest things he said is that we should all be the change that we want to see in the world. If you can identify with who you are becoming, if you can identify with a version of yourself that is stronger mentally, physically, emotionally, and you look to, okay, that's how I want to be. How do I need to behave in this moment in time? Martin Luther King famously said, the most important question we should be asking is, what can I do to serve others? What can I do to make a difference? And you look at these great people, there's no rocket science here, but I think, Rob, the hardest thing for many people is it means walking in a different path. It means stepping away in many ways from what a lot of other people are doing. And I'm very much into health, and you know, I was on Good Morning Britain the other day, and I got down on both knees to say to our Prime Minister, look, I'm getting down on both knees because the National Health Service is on both knees. And if we don't do something about this, our future generations are not going to be able to get treated. Whereas about 80% of people who are in hospitals are there because of lifestyle choices that they made. It's whether we can change, but now the difference between us and generations gone past is that there's so many distractions, there's so many temptations to get lost in stuff that never really takes you anywhere. I don't know. I still think about my funeral. I still think about my father's funeral, which I spoke at when he was cremated in Hoop Lane in North London, a place you probably know, and where I realized, I obviously knew my dad very well, but I didn't know my dad through the eyes of everyone he knew. And all the letters and all the emails that my mum got, there was this theme that went through my father, which was my father made time for people. My father was interested in people. And that's one of the things I've taken from him. I want to leave this world in a better place. There's a reason why the New Zealand rugby team is the best team in history, is because it's all about legacy. It's all about you leave the team in a better place than when you started playing for them. And that's what we all want to do. I think we just need help in order to feel free enough and feel confident enough to grow and contribute.
Yeah. Let's get through the last few questions, Pete. We've got another 5 minutes. Pete, your journey sounds really interesting, especially working with Arsenal and Ronnie, the world's best ever snooker player, possibly not the world's best football team. On your journey, what is the best piece of advice you have given? and what is the best piece of advice you have received?
Thank you for asking me that. Wow, trying to sum that up into the best bit of advice I've ever given anyone is, and actually that was the best bit of advice I was given. So here you go. Great question. This is it. Don't ever take yourself too seriously. Understand how your mind works, right? How your mind works is your mind plays tricks on you, right? So this is what my coach said to me many years ago. He said, "What's the nature of your mind?" And I tried to give him, a clever answer. He said, "No. The nature of your mind is your mind plays tricks on you." He said, "Have you ever tried to go to sleep at night? You've been walking down the road. Oh, sorry. You ever try to go to sleep tonight and you can't sleep because you can't stop thinking about something you did or something you've got to do? Have you ever walked down the road and you thought someone's behind you? Have you ever thought someone's talking about you? Your mind is playing a trick on you. How do you conquer your mind? You find humor in what you think. If you can find a little bit of humor in what you're thinking, you're not allowing yourself to be a victim to what you're saying to yourself. The challenge that we face is not taking ourselves too seriously. And it's an easy thing to say, and it's an easy thing to do, but it's also an easy thing not to do. I don't know what you think about that, Rob, but that's the best bit of advice I've given anyone, and it's the best bit of advice I was given, because for too long I think I had terminal seriousness. I was taking myself way too seriously, and I needed to lighten up and see that there was another lighter side to myself.
What I would say to that, I probably don't think that way. What I definitely say is that when you do something that you love, and it's your legacy and it's your passion and it's what you enjoy, and it's what you're going to be doing for the next 50 odd years, then actually it is fun because you enjoy doing it. And the fact that you enjoy doing it and it's fun, it means you're just not so serious.
Yeah,
because,
you know what? I thank you for that, and I will take that away, because that is so true. And you know what? If you really enjoy what you do and you have a purpose attached to it, that it doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter the obstacles that come in the way, because what you have to do is way more important than the obstacles that you might be facing right now. So thank you for that. I will definitely, I'll credit you for that for 5 times, and then I'll have it for myself.
I just think, Pete, you're on this call. You're in a really good mood. You sound really happy. You sound very positive, because you're just enjoying having a chat with me and doing what you're doing, knowing that it's something meaningful and purposeful, like you just said, and it's going to create an impact.
Sorry to interrupt you. Even to the point where I'm looking at a camera, yet no one can see me, and I can't do anything about that. But one thing I tried to. One thing I want to do is I want to have this conversation another time where maybe the camera will work, but it's like I'm just working with what we've got. I'm working with what is possible. And I think human beings we don't realize what is possible. It's the only thing that exists in the universe right now is possibility. How many possibilities are there for us? We could think of 1,000 reasons why we couldn't do things, but you know what? There's a million more reasons why we could do something if we actually wanted to do it. So yeah.
To wrap up things for today, before we give Pete the last word, to wrap everything on what's been said, and especially to bring in Pete's really powerful personal story about his wife, recommendation of today: everyone go out and read Man's Search for Meaning. It is the book of all books, and really it is the story that Pete has really kindly shared with us. When you have a purpose and a meaning in life, there's something worth living for, and when you know what that is, you know what you're living for, then your life is purposeful and meaningful. When you don't know the answer to that question, because you either are not self-aware or you haven't asked the question, then life is more challenging, because you don't know what you're living for and why you're living. And then you don't have the purpose, so you don't wake up every day knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it. So go out and read the book, everyone, please. It's super powerful. And I think you could read it time and time again, and it would give you a different analogy every time. And once you understand the basic answer to that question, that's it. Game over. Go out and enjoy and live that purpose, live that meaning, live that impact, and go out and do what your purpose is. So that's my close for today. Man's Search for Meaning. Go out and read it, everyone. Give me some feedback on that. Pete, you've been a great guest. You're going to close out today. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Same time, same place next week, 1 o'clock. Pete, share with us finally what you want the impact to be in the world from everything you're doing, and what's the closing message for the audience
So
today?
the first thing is I've just put a link in here. We've just created something on Facebook. It's absolutely free, where you can get a number of the books I've written for free just through Facebook Messenger. If you just click on that link, or if you open up Facebook Messenger and type in MI365, open that up, and I think if you just type the word PATH, P-A-T-H, you can get hold of a whole load of stuff. Man's Search for Meaning, you know, Viktor Frankl, I mean, we could talk about that for hours, but yeah, I mean, it's all about finding really what you're all here to do, and that might take a bit of time. But the more you read things that are positive, the more you have conversations that inspire something inside you, you realize the world is full of possibility. I would encourage you to show up here every week with everything that Rob is sharing with you, because the more you align yourself to what he's doing, I believe the more great things will happen for you. The last thing I want to say is this: look, a great life, it doesn't happen just by chance. It doesn't. Sorry. It happens by design. We can design that life by who we decide to become with everything that we do every single day. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm sorry you guys couldn't see my face. But Rob, I really do look forward to connecting with you outside of this and supporting you in any way I can with what you're doing. So
that'd be great. Everyone, keep watching Pete. He's a real star, changing people's lives. When you do actually get to see him, you'll see what motivational, high energy person he is. So brilliant. Thanks everyone for today. See you next week. Have a great weekend. Be happy, be healthy, be safe. And we'll see you same time, same place next week. #AskRobCo across all the platforms. Keep sharing, keep giving feedback, and keep listening to the content we're providing. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great weekend. Take care. Thanks, Pete.
my pleasure.